So leadership, from chapter 1, right there on page 4 from chapter 1, when they were going through the different definitions that we've had, basically, since World War One, all the way up through the 80s and maybe even to the 90s, we had all these years of definitions. And the conclusion was it's so complicated and complex that it's really kind of hard to just have one definition that is really kind of good and satisfactory. But for the book, they used the one by Roach and Belling, and you'd have to go back and look in the list of references at the end of the chapter to see who it is, but that's who it is. So it's on page 4. This is the one that they use kind of at the end of the chapter to say this is what we're going to use as kind of our definition when we're talking about leadership. So leadership, the one they chose, the process, so it's a process, it's an ongoing thing of influencing. This is why I'm bringing it up. An organized group toward accomplishing its goals. Influencing. Leadership is the process of influence. Getting a group to do what it needs to do. So how do we do that? So influence, again, my words, influence refers to change. Change in direction of a group, in the action of a group and individuals, in the thoughts of the group and individuals, and the attitudes. And again, attitudes, the think, feel, and do. So if you can change their attitude, you change the way they think, the way they feel, and then it's going to pour out in how they do. So if you think about Babe and how the sheep helped change his attitude about them, that then reflected in how we interacted with the sheep. Like that really happened, but you can get the idea. So influence refers to change, the process of influencing, the process of changing an organized group in direction, action, thoughts, and attitudes toward accomplishing its goals. And then lastly, this is why it's so important. When we study leadership, we are studying power. It's all power. And the proper power base drawn upon in the proper time with the proper people, otherwise known as the situation and the followers, to bring about optimal compliance and performance. Power, my words, the ability or potential to influence. So if leadership is the process of influence, influence is change. Power is the ability to influence. So in order to influence, in order to be a leader, to lead others and to change them, you must have power, social power. All right. So real quick, here's where we're going to end the chapter. I really want you to dig through French and Raven, and I'm going to post a little video for you on Tuesday, kind of a little Tuesday kind of midweek reflection, get you to think about some stuff. I'm going to give you one on Tuesday after you kind of read through this and thought about it yourself. So French and Raven said these bases of power that are available to ones in a position of leadership, responsibility, authority. They can be broken out into 5 pieces. And others, Hersey and Blanchard, when we get to situational leadership theory next week, I'll tell you how they introduce some other ones as well. So expert power. If people influence you, if they tell you, if they are perceived as an expert and they tell you this is what you need to do, and you do it, then they've influenced you. They've changed you because of their perceived expertise. Referent power. Again, look up the definition. There's a good description. There's several pages of this in chapter 4. Referent power is the power of admiration or respect. To revere someone, to hold them in awe, to hold them in esteem. If they ask you to do something, you would do that because of that admiration and respect and awe. If my father called me right now and said, "Kid, I need you to do something," I would do it because of that admiration and respect and awe. And maybe because it's also because he's perceived as an expert on something, but regardless, I would do it because I revere him. Legitimate power is power vested in the position. And so I'm going to give you a little thing on Tuesday night. It's formal authority granted to a position. Reward power are the rewards that can be given from that position. And then coercion or threats and punishments also vested in the position. So as professor in this class and part of the leadership instructional team in this class, we have certain authority and we have certain rewards and maybe some coercive power bases at our disposal. But that's just in this role as professors. If we ran into each other, if I came to your workplace and asked you for help and you influenced me, you would draw upon the power bases that you have at your disposal, given the situation in which we find ourselves. So these all vary. Fascinating. It's fascinating. This is social power, unlike kind of physical power. So plug something in the wall, put some gas in your car with certain horsepower. So needs theory, why do people want to do things? Well, Maslow, kind of back in the 40s and into the 50s, he said people do stuff to satisfy needs. If something is needed, it means that it's important, but if it's needed, it also means you don't have it. And so our behavior is directed to filling those needs. And then once the need is met, then it's not a motivator anymore. And then Maslow would say we'd go up it. I'm going to show you that Maslow thing when we come back to Fiedler here in just a little bit. But Dave McClelland, he looked at it a different way. He said that as children, when we're growing up, when we're learning what's important in life, values, where do values come from, all those things, as we're kind of figuring out and programming ourselves on what we regard as important, Dave McClelland said that there are basically three learned needs. And this is primarily a result of our upbringing. So the three learned needs, I've got a buddy that I was in grad school with. He wrote a book called Personal Character and National Destiny. Harold Jones, Dr. Harold Jones is his name. And his argument was that the stories we tell to our children set the course of our nation in years to come. The stories that we tell to our children set the course of our nation in years to come. And he based it a lot on the ideas of McClelland, that those things that as kids we learn are important and worthwhile and worth pursuing in life, those then kind of program us and kind of give us a filter in how we do things in life and those things that we strive after. So McClelland, through his thematic apperception test, if we were doing this live and had class together, I'd give you kind of a little mini TAT is what they call it, thematic apperception test, and really kind of explain this in the org behavior class. But McClelland said that there are basically three types of learned needs. There's need for achievement, and you can read the description there, and it's also, actually, it's probably in the org behavior chapter of our book. So achievement, those people who have to pursue and accomplish interesting, cool things, and we relish in doing things that other people maybe don't do or can't do. Affiliation need, these are people who are motivated to be parts of groups and to be involved and included and to interact with others. And then this last one, this is why it's brought up in this chapter, is this power need, that some of us have this kind of built-in, pre-programmed way to seek out position, to seek out situations where we can have some say in how things are done. And so we want to be able to control and influence others. And that's why it's brought up here. So really, I think we really kind of have all three of these in us, but one of them tends to be more dominant at any given time. But okay, so that's McClelland. Let's see why they brought this up in the chapter. And again, I'm finding these, not real happy with the PowerPoints with this book, kind of like with all the books that I've run across. So I've gone off and found some images to show you, and I noted them there. And actually, a lot of these are parts of stories and research things and consulting things that are actually kind of good to go look at. So here are the McClelland's need theories: acquired needs, learned needs. There's need for achievement. Here's need for affiliation. And then on need for power, there are actually two different types. And that's why it's brought up in this chapter. Personal power and versus institutional, or I tend to call it socialized power. And this question goes back to who benefits from this power. So with personal power, this says I want to acquire power and seek out positions where I will have control and power and the ability to influence to benefit myself. I'm going to be the one who gets the greatest benefit. Socialized power or institutionalized power, this is one of those, if I were in charge, look at all the good I can do for other people with this. So personalized power tends to be about me. Socialized power tends to be about others. And if you go all the way back to Plato and the Republic, he even talks about tyranny and democracy and philosopher kings. He even brings these concepts up as well. So interesting stuff. But when the reason it's brought up in this chapter is particularly these power motives. Who are the people that you're working with? Who are you? Why is it that you're seeking out power and the ability to influence other people? Is it because of this personalized power motive, or is it because more of an institutional or socialized power motive? So hopefully that clears up, and as you read through, it'll be a little more interesting. Oh, and by the way, when I do this in class, kind of going back to Dr. Jones's ideas, I bring in the story of the little engine who could. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, getting them up over the mountain. That was a book that was popular when my mother was a child, and she actually told me she remembered reading that. But interesting, so those stories, I think I can dig, I can persevere, I can do this. Those are the things that are being taught to kids, and it helps kind of set up their values and kind of how they view the world and what they strive for in life. So interesting. If you're curious about Dave McClelland, go ahead and look. And if you're in the org behavior with me next semester, we'll probably hit that in there as well. The next one, so Kipnis. Kipnis is the one mentioned in the book. I think when I first learned this, it was referred to as Kipnis and Schmidt, one of Kipnis's probably graduate students or associates. But these are the influence tactics. So if influence is the ability to change people, and that is rooted in power, how do you do it? So as a parent, as a teacher, as one who is in positions where I get to influence other people, I get to choose. I get to choose how I'm going to get them to change. And so Kipnis, in the book, these are all described. And actually, this is going to be kind of the foundation of one of your reflection exercises for the week. I want you to kind of notice this at work and in other places that you're living and doing life, and see if you can identify these. So go in and look. As you can see, hard tactics, more focused on the self. The softer tactics are down here. A lot of it has to do with the relative position. So is the other person one with the power? How would I influence them? Or am I the one with the power? Are we equal in power? And so these tactics, according to Kipnis and Schmidt and the other ones, they give an explanation for how we draw upon these power bases through influence tactics to change people, to influence them. So take a look at that. That's really the end of chapter 4 for me for now.